I've always been intrigued by the mountains. Born and raised in San Francisco, my folks always had us spend all summers in the mountains. And my great-grandparents, when they came here from Austria, they wanted to live out in the mountains, so they planted a vineyard. To the south of here, my mom and dad owned that mountain there behind the vineyard, and this was a landlocked parcel. And there was a flat area out behind here that was not my parents' property. And I went and offered my neighbors $225 an acre. That's all the money I had in the world was $2,000. So you need three things to make things happen in life sometimes: ambition, time, and money. Well, I never had any money, always had the ambition. And in 1979, as a general building contractor, interest rates were 21%. So I went home that night and convinced my wife why it was a great idea to plant a vineyard. And she says, "Honey, what are you going to do with a vineyard?" I said, "Well, how about just a hobby?" We spent a year and a half clearing, and then we ripped the soil and planted in 1981.
I grew up with a vineyard being developed, dropping trees, picking up rocks, learning how to drive tractors, delivering fruit to the wineries we're purchasing. And it was delivering the fruit that really got me excited, because that's when I got to see what happened with the fruit when I got into the winery. By the time I was graduating from high school, decided to go to UC Davis to study winemaking. I decided to make sure that I was getting a lot of good on-the-job training while going to school.
You'd never get a Harvard MBA to agree with what I did. You start the vineyard, for 5 years there's no revenue. No revenue, what kind of business is that? And then you decide, look, after 12 years of selling fruit, that worked out pretty nice. Why don't we start a winery? Well, start a winery is another dumb business model, because it's 3 years in the barrel, 2 years in the bottle, 5 years without a revenue.
Shortly before the '94 harvest, my parents called me one evening and informed me they had just pulled a winery use permit. I did have a dream of someday being able to make wine from the grapes that we were growing here as a family. I had in my mind maybe about 2005 to 2015. After I'd been out of college for 12 to 20 years, had established myself as a winemaker, developed a reputation, and nothing could ever trip me up. Well, boy, was I young and foolish. Every year we learn new things. Every year we find new surprises.
And then every year is different. This last year we had a lot of rain. We had up here in the mountain 96 inches of rain. And that made things want to keep going and growing. And we had a lot of cultural practices out there. We had to keep pulling leaves, cutting back canes. It's that balance all year long that you've got to work through. You know, it's such an honor to have members of your family work with you, not for me. I'm always careful about that. So it makes it fun just to grow fruit for quality, and he takes beautiful care of it inside.
You know, we work hard every step of the way, through growing the fruit, making the wine, all the way to bottle. You know, we coined the phrase over a decade ago that the Schweiger experience is from root to glass. And it goes beyond that. I'm out there in the marketplace, hosting wine dinners around the country, meeting with distributors, meeting with chefs. And so to think that, hey, my wine is going to grace an awesome meal that you prepared for family and friends, and that we've been invited to be part of this experience, is just a huge honor.
You know, it's always fun meeting new people. People, they're coming here for an experience. They want to know how we do what we do. I try to meet with everyone that comes through here, if it's only for a few minutes. And I think that's really important, that person you touched and you talked with for briefly. And what other farm commodity crop can you take out of the field, process it, and have people come by and love it and take it home?